I don't know about you, but I can't think of a better way to start out a morning than talking about Badger Athletics with our favorite athletic director, Chris McIntosh, and the impacts of downtown. It's like my two favorite subjects. So thank you for joining us here today. We're going to have an excellent conversation with the new Director of Athletics at the University of Wisconsin, Chris McIntosh, here at today's What's Up Downtown Breakfast. We've got time for your questions at the end. So if you have questions for Chris, send them our way and we will ask them. But before we begin today, we have to talk about why we're actually here. It's for our members and for our partners. We've got several brand new members to DMI, a huge and hearty welcome to a great group of businesses here joining DMI. First, we have Bricks Co-working in a fantastic co-working location right on the Capitol Square at 30 West Mifflin, and the team led by Ashley Wiggins. We are so excited that you're back. If you haven't seen the space, just incredible views of downtown and State Street. Check out Bricks Co-working. We also have Graft, one of my favorite restaurants downtown, just around the corner from the Overture Center on Carroll Street. Fantastic restaurant, small plates, always new, great wine menu, beautiful space. Check it out, Lucas Henning and the team. And last but certainly not least, a new venue, a new conference space. So all of you that have conferences, check out the Tinsmith, a really cool old redone building behind the Spark Building on East Main, across the street from the Art and Lit Lab. Just an excellent, excellent place. And thank you to Emily Volin and Jessica Wharton-Weiler for opening up this really cool and different venue for downtown. I hope you all get to see this place sometime soon. So thank you to all of our new DMI members. We're excited to have you and welcome, welcome, welcome. We're also pleased to have our board co-chair here with us today, Megan Jarabic, who is one of the two co-chairs. Actually, both co-chairs are going to be with us this morning. Megan, in her day job, is a shareholder at the firm of Von Briesen and Roper, and she's going to give a DMI update from the board level. Good morning, Megan, and I love the Badger gear. She said she was most excited about this morning because she could wear Badger gear to work. So you're welcome for that, Megan. You're welcome.
Thank you. I so appreciate getting to wear it in the middle of the week. So thanks, Jason, and good morning, everybody. We're so thrilled to have you here today, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Chris McIntosh today. You're in for such a treat. I met Chris a couple of years ago through a group that is for next generation community and business leaders, and I cannot tell you, they got it right with having Chris as a part of that group, because he is the epitome of next generation leadership, and you're really in for a treat today. So before we kick it over to Chris, I wanted to just say thank you from DMI to all of those who attended the DMI annual celebration on Monday. We could not have had a better night to celebrate downtown. It was wonderful people, the perfect weather, the perfect downtown location and backdrop at the Monona Terrace Community and Convention Center. So we're so grateful to all of our partners and to all of you who showed up to that event. Put it on your calendar for next year. I think we've got a great thing going with the change up in how this event is working. So thank you to our sponsors, our partners, and to those of you who attended. Now, as we get into fall, we encourage you all to attend as many DMI events as you can. And I just wanted to give one reminder to you that as a member of DMI, that means that all of your employees are able to attend our events, and we hope that you will encourage them to do so. It's really the best way to stay informed on the major issues happening downtown and around our city. So thank you so much. As always, if you have any questions, just please reach out to Jason or myself. But other than that, I'm going to say thank you for attending again and hand it back to Jason.
Thank you very much, Megan. Megan is certainly DMI membership ambassador and chief, longtime chair of the ambassador committee. I need to take Megan on more sales calls for DMI. Excellent, excellent work. All right, we wouldn't be here without our sponsors today. The sponsors really are the backbone of our organization. Make sure that the trains keep running on time. We've got our main sponsor today, Wipfli LLP. They have been a hugely important presenting sponsor for DMI for this program in particular 4 years. And we've got Anita Mohammed, who is a partner at Wipfli and double duty, the treasurer of the DMI board of directors and the organization. Good morning, Anita. How are you today?
Good morning, Jason. Thank you. I would also like to mention that I'm a proud alumna of UW-Madison, so I'm also looking forward to this program featuring Chris McIntosh. Whipley is pleased to participate as the major sponsor of the DMI What's Up Downtown Breakfast Series, and I thank you all for joining us this morning. As a multidiscipline professional services firm, Whipley delivers effective, personalized services to help companies and organizations like yours through these trying times to help create lasting positive impact. We are here to help leaders like you navigate the ever-changing economic environment, and we invite you to visit whipley.com for industry-specific insights for financial institutions, construction, real estate, nonprofits, and more. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoyed today's program.
Thank you, Anita, and the entire team at Whipley. It was great to see so many people at the annual celebration on Monday. So thank you again, Anita. Along with our friends at Whipley LLP, we've got a ton of supporting series sponsors, our great friends, Missy Tracy and Dan Brown at Ho Chunk Gaming, Madison. We've got Kevin Martin and Amy, Michael Best and Friedrich, the State Bank of Cross Plains, Jim and everyone. It's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As well as our special contributing sponsors, the Edgewater Hotel, which we will be back soon there, and UW Health, Unity Point Health Meritor, and Quartz for all of your support for the What's Up Downtown Breakfast Series. The sponsor for this month's individual event, and he loves Badger Athletics and always wants to make sure he's part of Badger Athletics, the co-chair, the other co-chair, the Batman to Megan's Rob. I don't know. No, Megan is Batman for sure. Nathan is Robin. I don't know. I might have just gotten in complete trouble with that analogy there. But our other co-chair, Nathan Wadier, who is also a shareholder at Reinhardt and Derner Van Buren, and we are just so excited that you are here today, Nathan. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Jason. I'll note for everybody that I got busted for not wearing Badger red this morning, but I am a UW alum, proud Badger supporter. So with that, Reinhardt is a big DMI supporter. We're proud to be here today. We're a 200-person business-focused law firm. If you're looking to achieve something, we'd love to be part of your team. And I'm just going to get out of the way and turn this program over to Chris. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Jason.
You're very welcome. Thank you again to our friends at Reinhardt Derner Van Buren for all your support. Thank you as well for being the major series sponsor for our annual celebration for years now. So Nathan, thank you. Not just because you and Megan are my boss, but you do a great job. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, on to the show. Today we have a very special guest, a good friend of downtown Madison, a good friend of DMI, and a personal friend, Chris McIntosh, who's going to talk about athletics. Remember, we do have time for question and answer at the end of the event today, about last 15 minutes. If you have a question, submit it in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Chris began his tenure just a few months ago as athletic director on July 1st of 2020. He previously served as Wisconsin's deputy athletic director, since 2017. In his role, he was charged with overseeing the day-to-day operations of the department while serving as a sports administrator for football. He also served as a key member of search committees that led to hiring of multiple coaches. Chris has served as government affairs liaison, collaborating with legislatures on wide-ranging issues, including name, image, and likeness, capital projects, UW borrowing and treasury flexibilities, and future legislation. Chris has helped establish and expand the Inclusion and Engagement Unit as one of the first departments across the country to intentionally focus on diversity, inclusion, and engagement within college athletics. He also helped establish the Department of Clinical and Sports Psychology, which is committed to promoting student-athlete growth. Chris, a consensus All-American offensive tackle who captained Wisconsin's back-to-back Big Ten and Rose Bowl championships in 1998 and 1999, returned to UW in 2014 after a very successful business career and a very successful career in the NFL. Something that he and I don't have in common. I don't know if you knew that about me. I was never in the NFL, but there's your fast fact for the day. Yes, 5'10", and not very big. Surprised I was not in the NFL. He was hired in December of 2014 as Wisconsin's athletic director for business development and was responsible for identifying and developing, enhancing new and existing sources of revenue for UW Athletics. We are so pleased to have Chris with us here this morning to talk about Wisconsin athletics and the economic importance of Wisconsin athletics to downtown and the wider community. Again, we'll be taking questions. Submit your questions in the Q&A function thereafter. But we're going to get going. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jason. Good morning, everyone. Thrilled to be here. It's news to me that you didn't play, Jason. At 5'10", not very big, but you are slow.
Yeah, I've got a lot of things going for me that you just thought NFL was going to be my career. My parents were very sad that did not happen, but all right, we're going to hear from Chris about an update on athletics. But before, I've got one question that I've been wanting to ask for a long time, Chris, that I've never asked. He's probably like, oh, what's he going to ask? All right, Chris, you are originally from Wisconsin. So I'm assuming you are a Packer fan. Everyone seems to be. You played for the Seattle Seahawks, and they're playing on November 14th. Who do you root for?
Always root for the home team, for the Packers, without question.
Good. I like that answer. I like that.
You're right. I did grow up a Packers fan. All my kids are Packers fan. We're a Packers household. But I will say I root for the home team of whatever market I'm living in, because people are just happier on Monday morning. So there's a transparency moment for you.
That is a very smart thing to do. So Chris is going to give a quick update athletics, and we've got some questions for him, and then we'll take your questions here at the end. So Chris, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I look forward to our discussion today and any questions you may have. I think there's no shortage of topics that we could talk about. It's been an interesting summer, late spring. If you think about what has taken place, it was the day after Memorial Day when this transition in leadership was announced. About a month later in June, the Supreme Court rendered a decision on the Alston case, which questioned the NCAA's authority to limit, at the moment, caps on reimbursable educational expenses or educational awards. And if you read that opinion, I'm not an attorney, but there are plenty on the call today. If you read that opinion, Judge Kavanaugh really called to question the NCAA's authority to limit just about anything, and invited further challenge of that, or further lawsuits, really. As you're all aware, on July 1, name, image, and likeness became effective in a very unconventional fashion. Here at UW, we had less than a week's notice that the way that this was going to come about is that we were to create our own policy for our own student athletes. That, of course, brought about because of or as a result of this state-by-state legislative approach, and the decision that I just mentioned in June, which led the NCAA to just kind of punt to the local level, to each institution. If that weren't enough, in August, it was all about conference realignment and kind of the dominoes falling, which they continue to fall in college athletics. And, September can't come and go without anything happening. And if you were paying attention yesterday, the National Labor Relations Board issued an opinion stating that student athletes should be employees. And at first, again, I'm not an attorney, but the initial interpretation is that that should be applicable at least at private institutions. But the ripple effects of that and where that goes, you may recall this was, I guess it was probably about 10 years ago, a group of student athletes at Northwestern made a run at this in terms of trying to unionize. So all that, and we can talk about any one of those, happy to, or anything else for that matter. All that to say, it's a dynamic period of time for college athletics. And I think we will look back years from now. And my hope is that we here at Wisconsin can be proud of what role we played in shaping college athletics for the future. If you've, heard any of our messaging or heard me talk over the summer, I've been really forthright and transparent about what it is that we are, what our mission is. And that is, our mission is to allow access and provide an opportunity for really, really talented young people to gain an education from the University of Wisconsin, a world-class education, and to compete for championships on the biggest stage. And that those two things, when combined, put us in very rare company. A small handful of schools can claim those two things. But I think right now, there are all kinds of questions about college athletics and what it should be about and where we're going. And I don't sit in judgment of that. I think this is decades in the making, and I think it is time for college athletics to declare what it is about and to try to find a new, or at least proclaim what our North Star really is. Try to find alignment. So that's my intro. I think it's probably best if we just go to questions, Jason.
Absolutely. You know, I think getting to that point of what is the North Star of college athletics right now, with the ground underneath you shifting so significantly with name, image, likeness, with obviously Oklahoma and Texas moving conferences and all of these major issues. You know, you have students dealing with the pandemic, issues that you never would have seen before. You know, what is the North Star of UW athletics right now? And particularly your North Star coming in, 3 months in now, you really are going to set the tone. What direction do you want the athletic department to head in these uncertain times?
Yeah, I think, it's very personal for me. If you're not familiar with my story, I'll make it brief. I'm the first from my family to go to a college like this. And the reason that was possible for me was because of sport. My sport was football. And, Jason mentioned at the top of the intro, some of the success that I was able to experience as an athlete here. But and the lessons that I learned from that, and obviously I had a great coach and mentor in Barry that I learned these lessons through sport that I could apply to my life in the day-to-day and to my career. But it was this education that I gained here that really provided this kind of long-lasting kind of lifetime value that I benefit from today. And so it's that long game that I think is really what we're all about, what we need to be about. I feel really grateful, thankful that we are part of the Big Ten Conference, because the Big Ten Conference shares in those values. Education is a priority, broad-based opportunity that is access for hundreds, for us, about 800 student athletes to access this institution via sport, when really 3 of our programs are revenue positive, if you will, or profitable. That's a model that's been called to question over the years, and admittedly, when I was a student athlete here myself, again on the football team, I called it to question, and at the time I didn't realize the value of it, and I do. But I do now, and I see it now. The ability for hundreds of young people to access a university like this is powerful. It's important, and so I feel good about the alignment we have on our own campus, from the chancellor on down. We are 100% aligned on where we're going. Access to world-class education and competing at the highest level. They're not mutually exclusive, and I think we've proven that can be done. I feel really good about where we sit in the conference, like I mentioned. And if you've been paying attention here in the last few weeks, that kind of shared belief or shared values has expanded beyond just the Big Ten Conference in this alliance that has been struck with the ACC and the Pac-12. And I think you'll see more and more done with those two conferences, both not limited to just scheduling of contests, but also in programming. And there's a shared kind of belief system there that, what I talked about in terms of the primacy of education, those two conferences share in that as well. And so, it'll be an interesting period of time that we are embarking upon, but I think it's gonna be really exciting.
It seems from your bio and from the work that I've watched you in the first few months of your job, you really care about the holistic part of the student athlete. right? I mean, you mentioned repeatedly about the academic success. That's why they're here, right? I mean, that's what less than 1% are going to become professional athletes. And we're helping them become stronger people. And you see that in your work in DE&I, right? You're also seeing that in the work in the clinical and sports psychology work. Why is it so important that you really help build these athletes as humans to be great leaders in whatever field they go into after?
Yeah, I think, I'll just share a quick story. When I was a student athlete here in the late 90s, just to focus on one facet of that, mental health. So, one of my coaches realized I was struggling, I was having a hard time. I was a young player, a second-year player on a offensive line that was all fifth-year players. I put a lot of pressure on myself. One of my coaches noticed something that they thought maybe I'd benefit from talking to somebody. And in 1996, here's how that played out. So I met with a psychologist, and in 1996, I would meet with that psychologist at 6:30 in the morning in a storage room in the basement of McLean. That is before my teammates or anybody else came around. Like there was all this stigma attached to it. And that's one facet of a student athlete experience. But at the time, we didn't have an academic support center it was built shortly thereafter. We didn't have the kind of staff to support our student athletes, learning specialists or advisors. We have an entire team of people today who run our career and leadership team. 100% of our student athletes, graduating student athletes, have had positive career outcomes within 6 months of graduation. That's a huge metric for us, and it's a really important one. And when you talk about, you kind of hinted at, Jason, the identity of a student athlete. And I think what we want our student athletes to believe is that when they leave here, their identity isn't just tied to the athlete that they were on the field. And I say were because you hit the nail on the head. It's less than 3% of our athletes that go on beyond this to play professionally. And so, there's a whole lifetime ahead of them, and our job is to position them for success as they leave here, so that they can do well in the rest of their life. And so I think there's been a lot of great work done. There's been fantastic work done, but the possibilities are endless there. And I think we're trying to reimagine what kind of opportunity, what kind of preparation we can provide to our student athletes that will allow them to be even more successful in the future.
I think that brings up a call to action to us as a member organization, business and nonprofits, that we need to help the university with the student athletes and the work that someone like the great Bridget Woodruff is doing to get out and make sure that careers are there and possibilities of their internships, whatever it may be. It behooves us to help Chris with this mission. And I also want to just take a note how important it is. You talked about sports psychology and that example that you were basically underneath the stands hiding, having it happen. Now look at the stories that have come out in sports, right? The great Simone Biles in the middle of, Olympics talking about this issue. You now see it in shows like Ted Lasso, right? Where they're dealing with these issues. I know it's funny, but that there's a message there that we really need to, to help nurture the student athletes. So on the athletics part of it, as you mentioned, Wisconsin has been incredibly competitive in not only the biggest sports like football and basketball, but unbelievable success in women's hockey, in volleyball, in track, and just all of these things. So what is the current state of UW athletics right now on the athletic fields?
Well, I'll say this, we have over the years, and I attribute this to Barry, we have always said that our differentiator is our people. And we've been, really intentional about, so to speak, which race we're going to run. And if you've been paying attention to college athletics, you see facilities being stood up that are lavish, and it's gotten out of control. Student athlete or team facilities with putt golf and bowling alleys, and it's it's been crazy. And our, we need to be, obviously, we need to be able to provide and be relevant on a number of fronts. But the difference that we take pride in is the people. And I think, there's been a culture created here where over the years, over decades, and I think, it goes back to Pat Richter, who was in sitting in this chair not all that long ago, relatively speaking. And it goes back to finding the right people to lead our programs. And, you touched on, women's hockey and Mark Johnson and volleyball with Kelly Sheffield. And I would add, Paula Wilkins to the mix in women's soccer. And you go down the list and you realize that the people we have here are really special people, and they care. They care first and foremost, and their belief system aligns with what I just described. What we're here to do, education is first, championships along the way. And I'm really excited about that's the best part of my job, really, is to interact on a daily basis with the most inspiring people you can imagine in our student athletes and our coaches and staff. They care, they're in it for the right reasons. I'm really excited about a couple of new coaches that we brought on, Marissa Mosley, women's basketball. I saw Mike Wilson out at the Ridge at our invitational over the weekend for men's golf. And, Marissa Mosley, if you haven't had the chance to meet her, she's somebody you should go out of your way to introduce yourself to. And she's an incredible competitor, incredible coach, but she's even a more impressive person who cares about our student athletes and the education, but also about making our department a better department, impacting our community in a positive way. And I would ask for your support of her and her program. If you've never been to a women's basketball game, no better time than now to come out and check out what she's got going. She spent 9 years at UConn, and Gino is her mentor, and I think in a very short period of time, she created a culture over the summer within our women's basketball program that you're going to see a different kind of urgency and preparation, and that'll be a fun program to watch.
I got to second your statements on Marissa Mosley. I had the good fortune of meeting her. She's also a proud alumni of Boston University, a Terrier. So we are taking over Madison here, but she is just infectious. Her energy, her charm, and they are on the cusp of something very, very special, and it's fun. I also, look, I'm not the one answering the questions here, but I'm going to tell people what to do. Go to a volleyball game. It is the most amazing Badger athletic event, a packed stadium. All of the amenities have been improved in the beautiful field house. It is jumping. The team is this close the last few years from winning a national championship. I hope they get over that hump this year. Right. So speaking of which, right, you talk about these big events like football, basketball, volleyball. As a former manager of Hotel Red, that was a really big economic driver. Why are UW athletics so important to our local economy, and particularly to downtown, where many of these facilities are housed?
Yeah, I think I think for a couple of reasons, Jason. There's two that come to mind. First and foremost, the economic impact obviously can't be overlooked. We did a study in 2018, I believe. There was $395 million of economic impact to the city of Madison, $610 million to the state of Wisconsin. That before we put a shovel in the ground on any of the projects that we're about to embark on. And so I think I think when we kind of emerge from a period like we just went through with COVID, and where our venues are empty, our buildings are dark, when you drive around town, there's something significant that's missing from the city and from our market when our teams aren't competing. that's one aspect of it. But I would say this, I think everybody on the call today has a desire to make Madison even better and to improve it. And I would ask for your support in. You hinted at it, Jason, in the previous question, but I would ask for your support in thinking about ways in which you can engage either our current student athletes in the form of internship, in making a connection with them, so that when they graduate, there's meaningful opportunity for them here in Madison. We're an interesting player or part in our kind of overall ecosystem here, and that part of our model is to recruit uber talented young people from all over the country. And there's an opportunity, I think, for us here through the connection and the engagement that can be created in a way that complements their experience as a student and as an athlete, that creates a connection that can retain them here and keep them in Madison. And that leads to, I think, a lot of positive outcomes down the road. I'd point to one in Sheriff Calvin Barrett. Like, here's somebody that came in from California, many years ago, and decided to stick around, and now, over the course of time, has emerged as a leader in our community. And I think, the more we can create opportunities like that for our student athletes, in the long run, it'll benefit all of us.
Yeah, that's a great point. And look, Madison continues to grow and is in the ascendancy, right? 16% growth in the census in the city alone in the last 10 years. We need talent. And here, you all bring talent to the city, but we have to make sure that the talent that comes here for athletics wants to remain here in Madison and help give back to the economy, to work for Epic or Exact Sciences or Findorf or Reinhardt or Whipfley or Von Briesen, whoever it is. But that doesn't happen unless we all make the connection. So I hope we do take that seriously. Please let me know if you're interested, because Chris and I have done some significant work on this in the past. I think really important question we've had from the audience. So in the past, someone has suggested that Wisconsin is not as welcoming for student athletes of color. What has been done recently and what we'll continue to do to make Wisconsin a more welcoming place for athletes of color?
Yeah, it's a great question. When we have, so that's been a priority of ours, and I've stated pretty clearly since this transition that it's probably the number one priority of ours. When we have actually spent time talking with and hearing from our student athletes of color, we hear a few things. One is they sometimes feel isolated or don't feel the level of connection that they'd like to feel with the general student body, specifically students of color on campus. And it's interesting, we got to work on that. That was in the fall of 19 when that was shared with us. And so we got to work on that right away and started to create opportunities and activation and events that would allow students from the general student body, specifically students of color from the general student body, to come over to our facilities. We did a big event over at the Cole Center. It was wonderful, and it was a way to create community for our students of color, a subset of that, our student athletes. And it was fantastic. That was about a month before COVID arrived, and those types of engagements have been now facilitated on a format like the one we're on now, which just, I think everybody would agree, just isn't the same right now. We are building out our D&I team, and we're excited. Anita, as our new director of inclusion and engagement. I'm sure you're familiar with Mike Jackson as our associate athletic director. Quentin, you'll meet soon. He was just announced on Friday. And there'll be one or two more folks that will be joining the team. But the idea here is to build out a culture within athletics that can be viewed as a leader in this space, a leader in creating community both within our campus and within our community. We've spent a lot of time, I've spent personally a lot of time this summer connecting with community leaders here in Madison and exploring ways in which we can partner with different organizations around town, again, in a way that we can help improve our community, but also provide opportunity and resource and connection to for our student athletes, specifically our student athletes of color, so that they can spend time and understand what's happening in and around our department and in and around our town. So there's a lot coming down the pike there. We just, earlier this spring released our strategic plan around DEI, and I think there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, it's great to see so many things happening with the hiring of Nita and Mike Jackson, obviously, and the larger university, right, with the work of the new D&I director at the University of LeVar Charleston, the work of our own board of directors, Brenda Gonzalez, amazing, heading up the community relations, really getting into the community. That's where this work happens. And it's good to see you all working on that together. All right, everyone wants to know about facilities. Lots of construction. There's kind of construction right now as Camp Randall is being used. So what are the updates on some of these major projects? The redoing of the field house and the frontage and Crazy Legs, now the stadium, you've got some things happening at Cole Center. Where are we with facilities right now?
Yeah, I think, so during the pandemic, we finished up, we gave the field house a much needed facelift. And I guess, it's one of those, you don't realize until all of the tons of dirt have been scrubbed off of the side of that building, how much it really needed one, and the new windows, and I think now, and the pavilion out front, I think now, we've done that building justice. It's a beautiful facility. It was much needed, and we were really fortunate, given all of the supply chain issues, that we were able to finish that building. We will, like literally a day after the last game here in Camp Randall, we will begin tearing out the south end zone. That project will install outdoor premium seating opportunities that are, the whole goal there is to provide a product that our customer today and tomorrow is interested in. That's a result of feedback that we received from our fans, from our ticket holders, and that is a level of hospitality, a level of comfort beyond the traditional seat in the bowl, but not behind glass, open air, so you can feel the energy. And we're really excited about that project. We are in the process of selling through that inventory. I expect that we will have sold out all of that inventory probably by the end of January. And so we're in a fantastic position with that project. Next year, late spring, early summer, we expect to break ground on the Cole Center. In addition to the Cole Center. That project is almost exclusively student athlete support services, a new academic center, a new dining facility, new strength and conditioning, mental health space, as we talked about earlier. And if you think about those 3 or 4 services, when the Cole Center was built in 1998 and designed prior to that, none of those really existed in the form that they do today. As I mentioned, there weren't academic centers in athletic facilities at that time. We were prohibited from providing food to student athletes at that time. We already talked about mental health and strength and conditioning. Specifically, for basketball student athletes, men's and women's basketball student athletes, or hockey student athletes, wasn't anything then like it is today. And so, we have kind of, exhausted every nook and cranny in the Cole Center. Our academic center there is built into what was designed to be a storage space. And we've gotten by, we've made the most of it, but it was time to bring that facility into the next kind of chapter of our story here, and we're looking forward to doing that next year. And I think on the horizon, what will become what you'll read about more and more in the near future is what is to become of the Shell. And the Shell is a facility that obviously houses our indoor track, but it's a shared facility right now with Rec Sports on campus. When the natatorium is completed, the Shell will kind of revert back to us in athletics, and we're in the midst of trying to determine what that footprint could be. It will be a big project for us. It's time for us to update and upgrade our kind of indoor field surface. The McLean Center, built in the mid 80s, has served us well, but it's an 80-yard surface, and if you ever come by here, it's being used round the clock, 7 days a week, and so we're kind of shorthanded there. And so I think you'll see the Shell emerge as a major project for us, and one that I think we're going to approach in a little bit of a different way, and that is we're excited to partner with some of our leaders on campus, and the goal there would be to try to draw some of the cutting edge research that's been happening on campus and pull it into and apply it to our programs and to our student athletes in a number of different facets in a way that can benefit them. So you'll see a bit of some programming there that it will be more cross campus, and we'll try to tap into this, this incredible research engine that's taking place. We already do this on a number of different fronts. Think about concussion research. There's cutting edge research taking place on campus in partnership with our sports med program and our student athletes. But so we're going to try to expand upon that and literally build it into the facility in a way that can kind of harness all the great things that are happening on campus as well. So stay tuned for that. There'll be more on that later this fall as we go through some of the necessary approvals to get that project into the pipeline.
So much happening with the facilities. It's really great to see. And you didn't mention some of the smaller projects like the new tennis, backside of the tennis facility, which is beautiful. And the new amazing Rec Sports Center right on campus, which I know you all share with the pool. If you all haven't had a chance to get in there yet, this is next level. I did not have that as a weight room in college. It really helps recruit students, and it's just great for downtown. And I want to say a personal plug and a thank you to you, Chris, and Jason King in particular, for the work that you've continued to do as part of the Regent Street Revitalization Project. This is an important project that DMI has helped lead for the last few years on trying to create more economic development on the street, just literally implementing the Regent Street plan. And you're the barbell of Regent Street, right? This massive facility at Camp Randall, this massive facility at the Cole Center, but they're not connected. And how do we interact more with the city? So thank you for your.
That's a great point. If you think about the Cole Center and Camp Randall as the weights on the barbell, the two projects that I just talked about, the addition to the Cole Center, actually 3 projects I talked about, and the South End Zone project and the down the line, the Shell. There's been a lot of discussion here within our team about what can be done with Regent Street, and where there's so much potential. If you look around the country at some of the districting that's been done, our one of the realities for us, and it's not limited to Wisconsin, just in college athletics, is this kind of slowly declining attrition at the gate at our events. It's just hard. It's more and more difficult to get people to come out, and I think there's all kinds of reasons for that. Our customers is different today than it was 25 years ago. But the goal here is to create a level of engagement that's not limited to 7 Saturdays in the fall. And Regent Street does and could play plays a role. It could play a much bigger role in creating that level of engagement and connection with our customers and alum. And I think when you see when we get down the road on design for a project like the Shell, certainly with the South End Zone, the ability to use and leverage that space 365 days a year, I think you'll see a commitment on our part to kind of opening our doors more than just 7 Saturdays a year. And I would hope that could be viewed by the business community and those that have an interest in improving the Regent Street corridor as an opportunity to expand upon that as well.
Yeah, we see that on the private side. Development is increasing significantly in that area, and that's why we're getting together in a few short weeks here to discuss all of the different projects that are happening, how we can work together. And you were part of, and I want to say thank you for your assistance with the plan that Vanderwall put together about 2 years ago. That was hugely important. MG&E, St. Mary's, Meriter, the big partners that are in that area. A couple of questions we got from the audience. Send them on in. We've answered a lot of them already throughout the chat. But one is about financial. From a good friend of both of ours, you said that talking about the North Stars being determined. What challenge and solutions do you see managing the evolving financial gain inequities? 1, between teammates in the same sport, and then 2, between income and non-income sports.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rich. Let me tackle. Let me start with the locker room and like the inequities on one team from one locker to the next. And there's been a lot written and a lot said about that. And I expect certainly that there'll be a learning curve there. And we're kind of in the midst of it, this transition right now. But my own personal view on that is, I think, contrary to the kind of the general thought on that. I think I had a locker in a NFL locker room, and I'm not trying to draw comparisons between a college locker room and an NFL one, but in an NFL one, there are certainly inequities between salary, endorsements, these kind of name, image, and likeness activities, and I think these get worked out. I think there's, and I think largely for the most part, those opportunities are dictated, generally speaking, by one's ability to play at a high level, and we have tried to reiterate this over and over again to our student athletes. If this is now permissible, and if you want to develop value for your likeness, there's a couple of great ways to do it. One, be a great citizen and represent yourself and create your own kind of brand that's appealing to the marketplace. But the other is be really, really good at your craft, and there's just no way around that. And I think that in a professional locker room that gets worked out. And I think it kind of has in a different way at a different level in a college locker room for decades and decades. I was in a college locker room with Ron Dane, and there was inequities between an offensive lineman and Ron Dane, not necessarily at the time financial inequities, but certainly, the notoriety that he got, and so I think you see it on a number of different facets. But I'm not as concerned about that as some are. I think that will just kind of over time play out. I do think, though, I feel most for our current student athletes when it comes to name, image, and likeness. Not necessarily our future student athletes. The kids that we're recruiting today benefit from hearing what our philosophy is on name, image, and likeness, and what we hold to be important. And our message to those recruits has been this. Well, I should back up. Name, image, and likeness has been weaponized in recruiting over the course of the summer. It's a new differentiator, and it is, for us, it's relevant and it's real, and I think it's something that future student athletes, recruits are interested in. They're interested in, but our message has been, this is the place where you can pour yourself into being a student and getting an education from a world-class institution, and you can pour yourself into mastering this craft that you've spent years and years and years honing. And we've got a nice program for name, image, and likeness, and you can benefit from it. And I think you can benefit from it in a very healthy way. But if you're basing your decision on, in terms of where you're going to go to college, on just how much revenue you can generate on name, image, and likeness, if that's your number one consideration or factor, then it's possible that Wisconsin may not be the place for you. And that's not exactly a race that we want to run. It's certainly not a race that we're interested in winning. But we do want to be. Like I said, I think there are positive and healthy ways that our student athletes can benefit from it. It's a small sample so far. It's one recruiting class, but so far we've gotten some great commitments from that class. And I think the feedback that we got from them, those kids and their parents, was really interesting. And that is, we're competing with powerhouses, the big brands of college athletics for these talented kids. That's where we're at today. And some of the feedback we got, I thought, was really interesting. Again, it's a class of one, so I don't want to make too much of it. But one of the comments was made was, other places aren't talking to us like this, and I thought that was quite interesting. And so we'll see. I don't know what our approach will be in the future. We're learning as we go here, but so far I feel pretty good about where we're at. The second part of your question, Rich, with inequities between income and non-income sports, and I think that's a great question. You've seen now, that's one of the questions, if you ask me, that is being put front and center to college athletics across the board right now, across the country. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, you saw a kind of a wave of programs like ours cutting sports, reducing the number of opportunities for student athletes. And we did everything we could. We made some really tough decisions here so that we could avoid doing that. And I think that gets back to this priority or value of broad-based opportunity, even if the vast majority of those sports don't generate or turn a profit. And I think that's okay. It's no secret that the opportunity for us, for 650 student athletes to have an experience here as a student athlete, is underwritten largely by football, like to the tune of 80% by football, and the balance by men's basketball. That's how the model is built. That's how the opportunity is underwritten. And there's been a lot of debate, a lot of political debate right now about what college should be about, and where the revenues come from, and exploitation of athletes in revenue generating sports like football and men's basketball. But I think the more relevant question for a body like Congress to take up, which is where a lot of this debate is taking place and will continue to take place, as a hearing today, as a matter of fact, should be around this very question. We're the only country in the world that attaches athletics to education, and I think it's fantastic. I think it would be a shame if athletics shifted to what you could think of as a club model or a club system, where it didn't have, at the college level, where it didn't have a connection to education. But I think that is the question that we as a country or our society should answer, and I think Congress is the one that needs to answer that. Is it should, like in our example, should these 650 kids get an opportunity, and the cost of that underwritten by a few? And I think that's really the pivotal question for us here. We've kind of put our money where our mouth is, and we try to provide an experience for all of our student athletes that's as close to best in class as we can. And we're fortunate to have the resources to do that here in Madison. It's tougher in other places, but that's really the question for the future of college athletics.
Wow. Chris McIntosh, thank you for your deep answers on a wide-ranging array of questions. We really do appreciate it. It is a huge weekend for the Badgers coming up, and the future is bright. There is a lot happening. We've got Berry weekend. How many of you said hundreds and hundreds of former football players are coming back for the Berry weekend? I mean, Michigan here at 11 o'clock at Camp Randall, just fantastic. And then so many great things to come, right? The volleyball team just continues to hum along. The hockey team coming off a national championship. Come and support UW athletics now more than ever. And some really fun things happening in the future. The Alabama series starting in 2024 and the Notre Dame game at Lambeau Field in 2026. So Chris, the future is certainly bright. What's the one thing that we can do to help athletics right now?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that, Jason. I think, we touched on it. I think to the extent that you can support our student athletes and connect with them, I've actually had outreach with DMI and members of it. Megan in particular is a good example. Right now on name, image, and likeness, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it, but our kids could use help with advice, business advice, legal advice, accounting advice. And there are people on this call that could help with that. We're not in a position, we're actually prohibited from doing so. We can provide general education, but that's a good example. And I think it's one facet of a way to create connection with our student athletes that hopefully could lead to meaningful opportunity in their once their playing days are done and they've graduated, that could lead to them sticking around Madison, and the ripple effects from that, as we talked about, are powerful. So that would be one way.
Well, if anyone wants to help, send a note my way. We've got a great relationship with the athletic department, working on several items. So Chris, thank you again. We are just so excited for you in this new position. We're here to help however we can, because every single football game that gets played at Camp Randall is a $16 million impact on Madison. That is huge business for downtown. So thank you, Chris, for your presentation and your discussion today. We also want to thank our sponsors. Again, we've got Whiffley LLP, Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison, Michael Best and Friedrich, the State Bank of Cross Plains, Reinhardt, who is our monthly sponsor this month, and our supporting sponsors, the Edgewater Hotel, which we will be back soon, and our friends at UW Health, Unity Point, Meritor, and Quartz. Thank you all very much. We'll see you soon at another event, or we'll see you soon at a Badger game. Go Badgers. Thank you very much and have a great weekend. Talk to you soon, y'all. Bye now.